In February, the Supreme Court will decide on a case with major implications for business, whether companies should be allowed to include arbitration agreements in their employee contracts. The clauses protect the companies from class action lawsuits by making it legally impossible for their employees to sue. But arbitration agreements aren't only used in employee contracts. They're a central part of most customer contracts too, including those at Wells Fargo, which in a wide-ranging scandal last year opened millions of bank accounts without its customers' permission. Roberto Ferdman set out to see what options customers have.
When Lou Garrison started talking to former Wells Fargo customers, his intention was to help them file a class action lawsuit against the bank, which should have been pretty straightforward. Garrison is a lawyer, and Wells Fargo was recently found responsible for opening thousands of unauthorized accounts. But suing Wells Fargo directly isn't so simple. In fact, it might not even be possible.
When a customer opens an account at Wells Fargo, they typically sign some forms. When our clients opened the accounts at Wells Fargo, they had no idea they were entering into a binding arbitration agreement.
Anyone who agrees to open an account with Wells Fargo also agrees to waive their right to sue the bank in a class action. It's called an arbitration clause, and it's tucked inside long agreements no one reads. Wells Fargo is hardly the only company that sneaks in these kinds of agreements. It's almost impossible to set up a bank account, apply for a credit card, set up cable or internet service, rent a car, or watch Netflix without signing one. When arbitration was first established in 1925, it was meant to help settle disputes between businesses. But a series of Supreme Court decisions starting in the 1980s changed that. Now, it's used to protect large companies in all sorts of agreements, including consumer and employee contracts. Advocates of the law say that arbitration proceedings between consumers and companies saves both time and money. They also say that the only people to benefit are lawyers who end up making millions after successful class action lawsuits. But a study by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau of arbitration disputes in the financial industry found that the decision favored companies 93% of the time. Julia Duncan, Director of Federal Programs at the consumer advocacy organization American Association for Justice, says that the reason companies force people to sign arbitration agreements is because they know it's in their best interest.
Class action lawsuits are one of the only ways that consumers can join together with other consumers who've all been harmed by the same corporation in the same way and hold that corporation accountable. And when consumers are forced to go it alone against a massive bank or a corporation, they almost always lose.
I decided to call Wells Fargo to see if they were willing to let a customer opt out of their arbitration agreement.
Welcome to Wells Fargo. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with today?
Hey, this is Roberto Ferdman. How's it going?
Good. That you're looking to open up a brand new checking account, is that right?
Yeah, I actually have a specific question. I ended up reading through the user agreement, and I landed on this one section. It's called the arbitration clause. Wondering if there's any way to open a checking account at Wells Fargo without signing that specific clause. It just kind of makes me a little uncomfortable.
As far as I know, to open up an account, you have to sign each piece of the documentation.
So there's no way for me to open a checking account without signing the arbitration clause?
Correct.
Do you have any suggestions for what I might do, or is the answer just look elsewhere?
I'm guessing most other banks are going to have the same type of arbitration agreement in there.
When I reached out to the bank to ask why it forces all of its customers to sign an arbitration clause, it defended the practice, calling it an important way to quickly and fairly make things right for its customers. Until something changes, big corporations will continue to put these clauses into their contracts. The ongoing Wells Fargo scandal is showing just how broadly they can be applied. Lou, the lawyer who's trying to sue Wells Fargo, may have discovered a workaround. His clients have signed contracts that forbid them from suing Wells Fargo in a class action. But the contract doesn't mention anything about suing Wells Fargo employees.
We thought that our best chance to get around arbitration would be to go after the employees rather than Wells Fargo itself. We are interested to see whether or not Wells Fargo is going to just leave these former employees hanging out to dry, or at some point is Wells Fargo going to take ownership and accountability for the actions that these former employees did. So that's our plan.
5,300 mostly low-paid Wells Fargo employees have been let go because of the scandal. While they may no longer be working for the company, it looks like they could still be on the hook for its actions. which means that both the people who lost money and the people who lost their jobs might be left to figure it out all on their own.